Welcome to the Mastermynd Beauty podcast, where we talk about all things mindset and business in the beauty industry. I'm so excited for today's guest, you guys. I have an amazing industry leader on with me today. Her name is Renee. It is incredible how we met. I hope this inspires our listeners to utilize social media in the way that we've utilized social media. And before I go any further, let's bring her in. Renee, how are you?
Hello, darling. I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's 7 a.m. Rise and shine.
10:15. I've got pajamas down the bottom, and then I've got my, my day clothes on the top. So, that's the joys of podcasts and having friends on the other side of the world, quite literally.
No, literally. You're so far away. Not only are you in Australia, which is probably the absolute furthest from me, but you also are like on the other side of Australia.
Yeah, so I'm literally on the complete opposite side of the world. So I'm from Perth, Western Australia, which is basically like the furthest point that I could be from you, basically. So yeah, so when you get to Sydney or Melbourne, you've got another 5-hour flight to get to me.
Oh my God. Luckily, we can just meet all over the world before I need to make that trip.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so first let's start off with who you are. Tell me about yourself. Where did you come from?
Oh my goodness me. Well, who am I? That's a really loaded question, I feel. So I actually going to share, like obviously for me, I'm a hairdresser. I've been hairdressing for 25 years. It was, I guess probably in the middle of my career, I decided to move over to Toronto, Canada. Over there, I worked in a beautiful little boutique salon, and I got introduced over there to the Kevin Murphy brand. It was over there I got my Gold Key, became a Gold Key educator. And yeah, then I came back to Australia in 2012, and I became basically a business consultant over in WA for Kevin Murphy. And I guess, there's been a really big journey from, hairdresser to, business support to, all the things. And so for me, who am I? There's so many aspects, I think, to that, but that's a little snippet around, I guess, what I do for work. I'm a proud mama. I've got 2 little ones. I've got 2 babies under 5, and my hubby is a FIFO worker. So I don't know if you guys refer to that in the US, but basically fly in, fly out. So basically he flies in for 8 days, and then flies in for 6 days, and then he's away for 8. So he does that week on, week off. So yeah, so I am a absolute dance floor lover. You will always find me on the dance floor. I love music. It is the thing that absolutely gets me moving. Yeah, I love travel. We have so many common things, you and I, which is no-brainer around why we're so connected. But yeah, I'm a lover of life, really. I love to do the things that I do with, so much enjoyment, and I just don't do things that I don't love. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
I love that. I think you did a great job reeling that in and squeezing it into a few minutes.
Yeah, literally.
Gosh, well, we met in the most incredible way. And I'm so passionate about social media and utilizing it in the right way. Obviously, you are too. And I think there's just so many different ways that you can use social media. And we've chosen to use it in a positive way to expand our network and build a community of like-minded people and women empowerment. And it really brought us together. It's insane how common we are, how many things we have in common. All of the things from being a mama and from loving Kevin Murphy and all of that, but then loving the dance floor and loving community and the way we use social media and all of that it's so incredible how it's brought us together. So I'm really excited to share our story.
Yes. And I think as well, I think it's just been such an amazing story of how we met because, there was I don't know, it felt like there was no issue with the conversation. It was just, it felt easy. It felt natural. You were just like, hey, I love what you're doing. And I was like, hey, why don't you come over and we can create content together? I think it was your first comment you made was I was at a content shoot And you were just like, oh my God, you were like, I need to have one of those. And I'm like, yes, come. And then I looked at where you were from and I was like, oh man, like I need to get to the US, or she's got to get here. So I guess, and that was really where it kind of all started. And yeah, like I said, I love the online space like
Yeah,
you, for the fact.
I really love the new Instagram feature where you can, I forget, you tap the like top right hand corner and you can see like the activity between you and a person. I'm really excited to look at ours because I've scrolled far enough to see like our messages and things like that. But there was a few comments that we exchanged. I do remember commenting on your content shoot and being like, that space is beautiful. I want to come shoot there.
Yeah.
And then I slid in your DMs.
Yeah. And I feel like that was about a year ago now.
It was June. Yeah, it was the beginning of June.
Yeah.
And I just slid in your DMs. I was like, you know what? I saw your post coming up. And obviously the algorithm was algorithming. Like you were popping up on my page because I love Kevin Murphy and so do you. And so you kept popping up and I'm like, I love what this girl's doing. I do a lot of the same things. I want to do even more of these things. And like, I just really am trying to expand my network as wide and far as I can, reach all the hairdressers I possibly can, and just like build a community of people who think like I do. And I saw that in you. And so I was just like, I'm going to reach out to her and just see, well, first of all, just say hi. And then like also just like see if we could chat, like just a Zoom call, you know, like whatever, just to see what comes of it. And you were like, yeah, let's have a Zoom call. Like I said, I think I said, I do a lot of the same things that you do, or I see a lot of the things that you're doing, similar to what we do over here in, California and Michigan. And I was like, let's chat. And you were like, yeah, let's chat. And we chatted like, I think maybe a couple of months later.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of time. And I think the thing as well is, so many, like if we think about the world of, social media, it's unfortunately not the space commonly where, when you see someone doing what you do, and again, I say that term so loosely because I don't really believe that. Like I think that, and even in the world of hairdressing, like, in the salon, you could have, as a salon owner like that you are, you could line up 4 or 5 of your girls and you could be like, okay, I want you to do a solid form bob haircut and I want you all to do that haircut, right? And you could do it on the same client. And they would not finish that client the same way because they are unique. They have got their own personalized touch. And the way that they support their clients from, the entire experience is going to be different, because that's kind of the point, is like us as humans, we're all so different. And so I think that's where, for me, when it comes to the online space, there's never been this like, oh, she's doing what I'm doing, so I can't be friends with her, or she's doing what I'm doing, so, oh my God, I better not engage with her. Or, like I find that to be such a lack mentality. And I think for us, that was never the case. And I think that's why what I love so much. And I think really that's what we hope that the rest of the people who are listening are actually feel inspired to do the same thing. Because, like you could be side by side, in the same state, but at the end of the day, like your people are going to be drawn to your vibe. Like look at the difference in both of us. Like we're both so different, even though we share such, I guess, common interests and we're so alike, we're still so unique. And I think when we come from that space in the online world, it's such a powerful place to be at. Don't you reckon? It feels so easy.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like just my history growing up and stuff, I struggled with female relationships. I struggled with building friendships that were, that I felt safe in. And so instead of using that in my adult life as like a bitter thing and not loving women and not trying to like build better friendships, I've kind of used it the opposite. And I do see social media as a place where we kind of roll our eyes at people who are doing the same thing as us, or rolling eyes at someone who's maybe doing things differently than you that are similar to what you do, but in a different way. And I just that's never been a way that I would go about utilizing such an amazing tool. And because I'm so hungry for amazing female relationships in my life and to empower women to be themselves, follow their dreams, and be supported while doing that, that's how I choose to use social media. And it's been incredible. And it made us come together, and we've achieved a lot in the last, year of our friendship and our business relationship. And it's just kind of incredible, all the things that we've been able to talk about and bring together.
Yeah, and I think as well, Alison, it's like it's one of those things where there is so much noise when it comes to the online space, in our industries. And, for me, in my business, I've supported a lot of hairdressers with social media. And, I was speaking to you today about the fact that, for me, I can provide, when it comes to the online space, we can provide all the strategy that we want. We can provide all of that, and we can provide all the skills that you can give. But as people, if we, when we show up on the platform, if we aren't, feeling good in ourselves, or we've had an off day, or we've had a day where, yeah, we're just not in a great space. I think we also need to be really mindful of that, because I think the way that you feel about social media is also relevant to kind of the day you're having. So it's really important to be very self-aware of your own habits. And I always say to my clients, like, if you've had a really bad day and you're not in a great mind space, no matter what happens, you jump on there and you're looking at someone that's doing what you're doing, you're naturally going to be like, with your back up, because you're not in your natural state. You're in this state of like, oh, comparing yourself and all of that. So I think that's the thing, is it is the most incredible tool, and social media has absolutely helped both of us with growing our businesses and getting ourselves out there and whatnot. And I love it. But I think the biggest thing is, at the core, as humans, we need to remember that, like, and as hairstylists and beauty professionals, we need to remember that, like, we are the only person that can do what we do the way we do it. And so always try to remember that and keep that at the forefront of your mind. When those kinds of thoughts are creeping in, you need to go, hang on a minute, check back in with yourself and be like, why am I feeling like this? And typically I find when I speak to my clients, it's like, oh, I've just had a really bad day, or I'm really off. And I'm like, well, so then get off social media. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yes.
it is really going to it can sometimes, really amplify that. I think for me, I have a really good level of awareness around myself and where I'm at. And so, and I know you're the same. We are, yeah, you know what, like today I'm just not social. I'm just not socialing, because it's not the right space for me to be in today. So I think also that is really important for everyone to kind of be aware of too.
I do too. And I actually experienced this the other day, or it came to my mind the other day. I was thinking about it because most of the time it's very natural. If I'm having a bad day, I'm not going to be on social media. If I have a bad day, you won't see my face on stories. Um, Although I do like to keep it real and share my struggles and things like that, I'm just simply not going to show up if I'm not my best self at that moment.
Mm.
And in the last,
Reflection, okay. Reflection after is fine, right? Like
yes,
that's, and I think you do that really, really well.
thank you. Yeah. So like I would say like the last 2 years, I've become more aware that on days that I get good news, or on days like that my business is just like takes a leap, like days where I'm just like, this was a good day, especially my business, but personal life as well. I notice that I show up and I show up confidently, and it's just, I'm a little bit more aware of it. But the other day, like I didn't have a good day, and I slipped, and I kind of posted that I was having a bad day on my stories. And I think my story was up for like 5 minutes, and I was like, you know what? That's not who I am. Like
Mm,
that's not why I'm here. And so I just
mm.
simply like took it down. And it's every once in a while, like we are humans, we are a real person on that side of the screen. And sometimes we might, find ourselves getting lost in someone else's life instead of living our own, and becoming jealous and, resentful towards someone else. But it's just so important to be aware of that, and just to like, check in with yourself and say, okay, what are my goals here? Like, what are my goals in life? What are my goals for this app? How am I utilizing it? And make sure that's what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a saying, and I say to my audience, and it is, it's so important that, social media is amazing for us to, as stylists, to be inspired by other educators and other people who are, doing wonderful things. But I think we have to be very careful to not be so inspired by others that in that we lose ourselves and we lose what we actually desire, because it's so easy to sit there and scroll and consume. But I'm always like, if you tell me that you have no time to create content, but I know that you're consuming on other people's content, wishing for a life that you don't even necessarily really want, because you haven't spent the time to actually gain clarity around what it is that you desire for yourself, then I think that's a really big lesson as well, is like, check back in with yourself and go, do I even want that? Or am I just, on there because I haven't got my own clarity around what my own goals are? So, and this is where, again, with social media, it's so important to be, you know, creating a plan and understanding what have we got coming up in the business in the next, you know, 2 to 3 months, and how are we going to create content that's going to drive those business goals, you know, that are obviously happening in the salon. But how do we create content about that so that we can kind of have it all flowing and have that continuity throughout? So yeah, I think when you do that and you focus on yourself, it's so much more, you see the real power of the app, really, isn't it? Instead of spending more time wishing for a life that you don't even really necessarily want. It's just because it's being sold really, really well, right? The smoke and mirrors will have you believing that your life isn't great. And that's where I think, again, having that deep level of awareness around what you desire, and is it even what you want? And if not, then move on, or, you know, mute people that don't feel good for you, you know, because
I'm a
we
big
all
muter.
yeah, because we all grow. Like, and that's the thing too. Like, you know, if we reflect on when we first like land on the app, you know, like when I landed on the app 3 years ago, I was like a mum who was absolutely a hot mess. I was in postpartum depression with my daughter. My husband had just went away to start working. I was juggling two under two. I had my, you know, two little kids. I just started my business. I was so unhappy in myself. And that comparison and that, like, you know, imposter syndrome and that self-doubt for me was so hard. Like, I was so hard on myself. And when I look now, I was like, whoa, like, you know, and that's what I guess I love about when we go through things ourselves. And then, like, for you, like, you coach, you know, I mentor as well. Like, we both do it, is like, because you've been through those things, you can say to other people, hang on a second, like, is that even what you want? Or, you know, are you even where you want to be right now? And maybe that's why the online space feels really overwhelming, because, you know, you're not at that point where you've got all that full clarity around where you're going right now. And that's okay. Like, I think as business owners, we have this thing where we think we need to get on Instagram and have it all figured out. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way. Like, we're always going to be figuring it out. And when we think we've got it figured out, we're going to have another thing that we're going to be like, oh, what am I actually doing now? Like, what do I need to get done? Don't you reckon?
Yeah, yeah. And comparison is the thief of joy. And I've just learned after 15 years of having my salons, almost 16 years actually, 16 years of having the salon businesses and then just coaching other stylists, what I've learned is that, and I don't know why it took me so long to learn this because we know that everyone has problems. But recently, there's been some times where, especially with social media and content creation, seeing what other salons are creating and putting out and seeing what other salons look like, you know, and being like, oh, you know, these beautifully like brand new remodeled salons. It makes you feel like you have to remodel your salon every year and, you know, all the content that they're putting out. And you get so wound up in it. Like, wow, they must just be like, they must have the happiest team. They must have the best owner. Like, what is their owner doing that I don't do so I can do it too? And lately I've taken the time to get to know the people behind those brands that inspire me. And I found that they have problems. Some of them are way worse than we have, you know, like way worse than things I've went through. And it's not, I don't like to know that people are struggling and going through things, but it does remind you that Instagram is a highlight reel and you can't watch someone else put out content and live their lives and assume that things are amazing and perfect for them and wish you had what they have, because deep in those people and deep in those places, they have real problems. And as we all do. And sometimes it's worse than what you're going through and you don't even know, and you haven't taken the time to get to know these people. So you just watch from afar and wish that you were more like them. And it's so sad that that's how a lot of people do utilize the social space. And, yeah, I'm happy that I didn't get sucked into that. And I'm happy that I have the personality that makes me want to dig deeper. But I hope that we inspire others to do the same so that they can stop living vicariously through others and just consuming and eating up that content and not creating for themselves.
Yeah, I think this is the biggest thing that I see so much with the people that come into my world. I'm like, you know, okay, what is your biggest struggle? You know, I had a strategy session today and I don't have time. I'm really time poor. I don't have time. And I'm like, okay. And I always say to my clients, I'm like, you either, if you don't have the time to learn social media, right? And I always recommend for all our clients, I'm like, okay, even if you don't want to run your socials, even if you want management, you still need to understand what it is that you're actually paying for. You need to understand, and it's a collaboration between the both of us. It's not just here's my staff and a run and a dump. Like, it doesn't work that way for us. So I think that's the thing. You may not want to do it as a salon owner, but it is in your best interest, because there are so many agencies that absolutely, and I've seen it. Had so many salons come to me like, they've been charged a bomb, which social media management does cost a lot when it's done correctly. But unfortunately, some people are charging the bomb, but not actually delivering on what the client deserves. And so then the client thinks that it's a waste of time or a waste of money. So I think we need to be really savvy as business owners. And, even if we don't want to actually do the thing, we need to actually take the time to understand what is the thing that we're investing in, so that we don't get that wool pulled all over our eyes. I think that's a really important aspect as well of socials.
Yeah, I've
Um,
seen that. I've seen that at Mastermynd Media, our sister company, where we might be working with a client on content creation, or creating content for them, and if the client is not in it as well, they can't just hand it over to a management company. You have to be in it as well. You're still the face of your company most of the
correct. Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
You still have a team that needs to be on. You need to shoot the content. You need to be in the content. You can't just hand it over.
No. And also as well, like, as a social media management agency, like, even being a hairdresser myself, it doesn't matter, because I don't know what your unique goals are. I don't know what you're trying to drive within the business. And I think this is where, again, someone's like, oh yeah, just put some posts up. I'm like, it doesn't work that way. Like, it's not just, oh yeah, let's just, punch into ChatGPT some content ideas and we run with it. It's like, there needs to be a purpose, there needs to be intention. Like, what are you trying to draw into the business, in the salon business? And then we need to focus your content creation around that. And that's the thing is, nobody takes the time to really spend that time to make a plan and actually stick to that plan. Because when you do, it makes content really, really easy to do, because it's just rinse and repeat. So
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. It takes time to nail that down, and to understand what you are here to do and what I guess, your goals are. But once you start understanding that every piece of content you put out has an intention, it has an objective, it makes life so much easier for you, the salon owner, or to delegate out to your team to go, hey, this is what we're focusing on. I need this content to be filmed. I need it within 2 weeks' time, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
At the end of the day, I feel in my salons, what helps with content creation is talking to the team about creating content
Mm.
specifically. Like, hey, this is what we're looking for, or this is a product that we're going to focus on, or just and helping them also, like the salon owner. Even if the salon owner isn't amazing at creating content, executing that content is so important, because you can't be a salon owner telling your team to create content and you're not doing it yourself. You can't be telling them to post, X times a week and create these funny reels and do all these things if you're not doing it yourself. You got to be in the thick of it with them. And that really helps me in my businesses, is being a part of it with them. It gets them excited. It makes them feel supported. And it also makes sure that the content is, getting done, right? If I'm in the salon helping them with it. So there's that. But I think also just teaching people who social media doesn't come naturally to make it part of their life, and not in a way that you're obsessing, getting everything is getting shot and things like that. But like, look at us, like, when we're doing something, when we're going to work, when we're going to shoot something, or when we're going to coach a client, we're documenting that journey. It comes naturally. We're showing up, we're waking up in the morning, getting ready, we're filming that. We're, heading to the client, we're probably posting on stories, like, heading over to my client, I'm so excited for my day today, showing that we love what we do, that we're enthusiastic about it, and that we appreciate our clients. And then showing up to the client, documenting that, or doing a day in the life, and just making it fun, making it part of your life. And then it's not a chore. You're not setting aside extra time to shoot content all of the time. Sometimes it's just like what you're doing. Look at us in Budapest. We got a lot of
Mm.
content.
Mm. And we didn't even have that much time, really, when you think about it. And I love what you said there, Alison. And this is a thing, as stylists, as beauty queens, we need to be thinking from the frame of, like, it's less about creating and more about documenting. It's about how can you document what you're naturally already doing. And I always say to my clients as well, I'm like, like, oh, I just don't have the time. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, in the morning when you get up, do you forget to make your morning coffee? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, And so then, like, when you go to get ready for work, do you forget to brush your teeth? And they're like, no, like, ew, like, of course I wouldn't forget that. I'm like, okay, cool. So when you get in the salon in the morning and you turn on the salon lights, before you go do anything else, after you turn the salon lights, I want you to go over to the tripod that you should already have set up in your salon, ready for the day. I want you to take your salon phone off charge, because you should have had it charged before you left from the day, and pop it into the tripod and set it up and just flick it over to a time lapse and hit go on a time lapse. That is the best way that you can document showing how busy your salon day is. You can literally then stop it, say at lunchtime, because you'll have a bucket load of time lapses and B-roll there, and flick it over to camera. You could tell your clients on the way out, hey, go do a fit check to the camera on the way out if you feel like that feels good for you. Again, it's not about getting every single client to do it. It's about getting the right clients who are going to help you to drive your goals on social media with what you're trying to do. So, for example, if you are an extension salon and you're like, we need to up our ante here and get some more extension clients in, well, then make sure that the clients that you're really trying to document on, make sure it's showing the extension process, right? And I was listening to a podcast today, and it's like everybody's selling, what they offer in terms of a tangible, but it's actually not about the service you offer in terms of like, oh, I offer extensions. It's actually about the transformation that you provide when you are doing extensions. And I think, again, this is where we fall down, is we think that, we're talking about all the extensions. It's like, but hang on a second, a client doesn't even know what all that means. All that wording is jargon to them. Like, you're speaking to another hairdresser when you're writing copy like that too. So,
Yes.
you know what I mean? So it's like, again, it's these little simple shifts that you can make when it comes to, I guess, documenting and setting yourself up for the day. And you would never, like I said, you'd never forget to brush your teeth. So when you get in the morning, don't forget to set up your camera.
Yeah, I
Like,
feel, yep. I see
said with
that.
love, said with love, but and also as well, like, how many of your stylists go to like your local coffee shop in the morning and grab their morning coffee, and it's usually in the local area that you're in? Why not give a shout out to your local coffee shop on Instagram stories? Because hey, guess what? Some of your new clients are hanging out on that coffee shop. So when your story gets reposted to Instagram stories and they tag you in because you've tagged them, you're giving yourself more visibility to get in front of new clients as well. So it's like, again, we kind of overthink, but it's like, it's just, what are you already naturally doing? What are your morning habits? What are your routines? And bring your audience along for that.
Yeah. And going back to the extension thing that you said, it's like, yes, it is about the process. It's also about how you made that client feel.
Mm.
Sometimes it has nothing to do with the service. Like, I mean, yeah, of course they got extensions, they look beautiful, but like that client felt incredible. That client felt, they felt confident. They felt made over, a new person. They felt fresh. Like they felt so good when they left the salon, the best they felt in a really long time. And if they text you after and say, thank you so much, I've already gotten a compliment, like I feel so amazing, like that needs to be screenshot and going on the stories.
Yeah,
That needs
literally.
to be documented.
Yeah. Or even you can even do it where when you post the clients, you can do it on stories. I love that. And then you can obviously save it to your highlights as your client love. But another thing you can do now is you can also put it into a carousel. So you could literally do, the before, after, you could show some of the process. So like Instagram's had a new update where now Mark got this update when we were in Budapest where you could actually add 20 images to
Yeah.
carousel. I literally, like, it's only just coming out now for me.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. But I think the key thing here is as well is what they've actually also said now with Instagram is for those who like, so if you're a hairdresser and you don't like to really create reels, or you haven't got your head around reels and you just want to start showing up, the most simplest way you can do that is by taking some before and after photos, taking a little video of like what the clients before looked like, taking a video after and showing that. And if you upload a carousel dump showcasing what you did in the process of just every stage of it, and put that all together, make sure you put an audio on it. The algorithm will actually read that as a reel because it's now got audio and it's also got a video inside that. So don't just do a photo, include a video with an audio, and you're basically creating a reel anyway. So that's another thing I really encourage if you're the hairdresser. It's like, I'm just not there yet with creating reels. So this is like a real easy way to kind of bypass it and still get yourself some good reach as well.
Yeah, I love that. What do you feel about the people who like what would you say to the people who are just so scared about talking to the camera and like showing up with their face and their voice?
Yeah, I totally get that. And like you can scroll to the very beginning of my Instagram account. And like again, I think it depends on where people are at within their own
Hmm.
journeys in the world of socials. Like again, when I first launched, I was so uncomfortable talking to camera. I hated how I presented on camera. I was not happy within myself. And so that took a lot of work for me to just kind of get out of my own way. And so I work with a lot of clients in person where, we've had women who are like, I want to give it a go. I really want to give it a try. And I always say to them, best thing that you can do when you're starting to talk direct to camera is basically have a little bit of an overview of what you would like to say. So, what is the purpose in which you are wanting to do a direct to camera reel or to stories? And I always say start with your Instagram stories because it's gone within 24 hours. It allows you to kind of do it where it doesn't feel so like you're committing. You can still repurpose. You can go back to your archives later if you feel confident, you're happy with it, and archive it and download it and use it on as a reel anyway. And what I'd say to you is don't try and get everything out at once. What I actually would do is I would film all my Instagram stories in normal video mode on my phone. And I would just say one line at a time. So it would be like, today I want to talk to you about, and then I'd stop there. And then it would be, um, the biggest problem a fine hair client will have, and here's what you're doing wrong, and here's what you need to do instead. And so having all of those lines already sort of written where you can read it out, and then basically you can put it together and edit it in a way it's not hard to do, where you just trim off that dead space and be able to just go from there. And I find just giving people one lines really allows them to feel like they're more confident versus them getting on stories and just rambling and going on a wild goose chase. Because then it's just like, how did that start here and then go there? So I think, again, kind of doing it that way, I think is a really good thing to do. And it allows you to kind of, again, give a lot of energy to each line. So it kind of keeps you sounding still really engaged versus starting off really high pitched, but then getting in your own head when you're first starting out, and then you kind of drop in tone. And that's when you can actually lose people. So tone of voice and the way you speak. If you're always staying in a very monotone and whatnot, it's harder to keep people engaged. So there's an amazing guy that I actually am doing his course called Stage Academy. His name is Vin on Instagram. He's amazing for all of you who are starting to talk to camera. And he actually helps you to be able to use your voice as an instrument, because he says that our voices are like instruments. And so basically being able to take people on a bit of a journey with how we use our tone is such a powerful tool. And he teaches that. So yeah, there's so many little things you can do, people you can follow on Instagram as well, who give you really great strategies around kind of getting started on talking to camera as well. And Vin is one of them.
I love that. I'm definitely going to give him a follow and check
Follow
him
him,
out.
babe. Yeah, he's amazing. He talks a lot about communication styles and all of that, and he's an absolute gun. So I love him and what he does.
That's why I always tell people too, like enthusiasm will make you busier than talent ever will. If you are enthusiastic and you are like tone of voice, if you are just like so excited about what you're doing and you're showing up and just showing people like how passionate you are, you'll get their attention. They'll be like, what does she
Yeah,
have to say?
yeah,
Another thing that I like about content creation in the beginning with using your voice is voiceovers. It's a really nice way to like not have too much pressure of someone listening to you and looking at you. It allows you to like connect with your client so that they can hear your voice and get that more personal touch on your videos without showing your face and being so like so much pressure.
yeah.
And also what I would say to that, and this is kind of a different thing, but also what really makes you feel connected to people is sending voice notes. That's one thing that it makes you feel so much more connected to the people that you're talking to on social media. And that's something that you and I do a lot, sending voice notes back and forth. But I've seen like some other people that I've talked to on socials who they'll send a voice note instead of a long-winded paragraph. And it just literally makes you feel immediately like you know them. So to people who are connecting with even clients or people who are messaging them and saying, how much do you charge? and they're like, oh, how do I explain you get on a voice note and give them a proper, like make them feel connected to you. They're DMing probably 3 other people asking them what their prices are. But if you can give them like a more personal touch and make them feel like they actually matter to you, like that their business is important to you and that you want to clearly help them understand something, like just using your voice is such a powerful tool. And
True.
it should be used more on social media. We shouldn't just be hiding behind messages and pictures.
Totally. And also as well, like, the best thing you can do as well to drive up your engagement is actually get people in the DMs. So, you really want to be having as many conversations in the DMs as you can, because then when you post to stories, if you've got cancellations that you've got coming up and you're, sharing anything around that, that's the first thing that's going to pop up to them is your Instagram stories as well. But, I always say that the conversions, when people convert in the DMs. People don't convert from the grid. Like, yes, they'll, share they're interested, but it's when you get to actually, speak more to the person and actually explain what it is. Because again, like hairdressing services, it's not just they see a beautiful photo and then typically they want to book now. They usually have questions. They want to know, will this suit me? Hey, like, they have all the questions. So again, like you said, I love that. I actually, Alison, when I launched on Instagram, I was working with a coach and I was seeking out about 3 or 4 coaches that I was like sort of interested in. And I messaged via, just text message them in the DMs. And out of all the coaches, there was only one of them that responded with a voice note. And that was the coach that I went with because I could literally feel her softness through her voice. I could feel her personality from her tone. I could feel that she just had this beautiful nature about her. And I'd been pretty badly burnt in my previous coach that I worked with. And so for me, my trust was really low. So again, if we think about that from my experience, when it comes to consumers have also had negative experiences. And so they want to kind of be reassured. And yeah, I love the connection in the DMs. I think it's such a powerful tool. So yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that. I think that's a perfect way. And again, do you know how many salons have things like please no DMs in their bios? And I'm like,
Yes, I do. I've
what do
seen
you
them.
mean? Like you can't like, and this is the biggest thing we have to understand as an industry. Our DMs and our Instagram accounts are literally it's a two-way conversation. It's not a radio. Like your Instagram account isn't a radio station. You literally need to be going backwards and forwards and having a two-way conversation with the client, like you naturally would with them if they were to walk into your salon and ask questions. Oh, I'd like to know, like what's involved for this, for me to achieve this look, blah, 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 blah. You would never say to them, oh, sorry, like we don't talk to you. Like that's basically what you're saying is, or you're slamming the phone down on them before they've even had a chance to ask you questions.
It's
So
literally like a front desk to people who don't have
it's
one. I mean, or even to people that
literally
have one, but it's your front desk. People are literally coming to you to do business and now you have to reply to them.
you cannot be in the landscape of 2024 and social media. You cannot be saying things like, please no DMs. Like I get that it takes time. You can obviously have save replies, so that it does speed up the process. If you do, like if you specialize in extensions, typically you'd have your frequently asked questions that you could have hanging out in there. But I think we just cannot be closing the door if you want to be generating new business from Instagram by saying things like, oh, please no DMs. It's just not the way that the app works, especially in this like currently. It's just, yeah, DMs are where it's at for sure.
Yeah. One of the first voice notes that I got that made me realize that this is like just such a powerful thing that a lot of people aren't utilizing is a motivational speaker that I follow. His name is E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher. That's his Instagram name. His name is Eric Thomas. And he's in a completely different industry, right? Like it's motivational speaking, but he speaks a lot to like athletes and things like that. Really amazing story. He was born in Detroit. And anyway, so I'm just like I love watching him. He's just a very powerful person to watch. And I DM'd him one day, forget what he posted, but it was something about his wife and like their journey and their story. And I DM'd him and he sent me a voice memo back. And I mean, it just like, I was like, that was so cool. Like just so personal for him to take the time. It probably took him way less time to send me a voice note than it would have been to reply. And just like someone so huge with such a huge following, someone who does so much in a whole different industry than me, still saw a reason to reply to me, not only reply to me, but to send me a voice note. And it made me feel like I was having a phone conversation with him. It made me feel like he called me or that
Yeah.
he picked up when I called him.
Yeah, and that's why we have to make sure that we prioritize, spending time to respond to all of our comments. Don't leave your clients on unread. Like if you're literally posting content, your clients are leaving comments, again, like it's a two-way conversation. It's a phone call. You need to make sure, you need to pretend that when the client leaves a comment on your post, like saying, "Oh, I love this," or whatever it is, you need to be making sure that you're responding back to those comments, because that's how you build a community. And so, you can have, as a local salon business, you can have a gazillion followers, but if they are not in your local area, they're not going to be able to provide you with, bums on seats and being able to fill your book. So I think we need to also remember that, like, you would never just leave a client. If a client called the salon, you wouldn't be like, "Oh, hey, sorry, yeah, no, we're not taking questions. Sorry, like sort it out yourself." Like that's just not what you would do. And this is the thing. So,
Wow.
like you
Yeah.
need to really be making sure that before you post your next piece of content up, you go back to all your previous posts that you've done that week and make sure, double check, cross check that you've responded to all those comments. Go back into your DMs and make sure that you've responded back to those DMs to make sure that your audience feels valued. Because if they don't, that's not how you're going to build a community. You're going to have people that are like, "Well, I actually don't feel seen or heard or valued, so why would I keep going back there?" The same way that I bet you keep going back to that guy's page because you're like, "Wow, he made me feel like I wasn't just another number."
Oh yeah, totally. It was
Yeah.
just I get so much from him anyway watching his content. Like it's just very I love connecting with people in other industries as well, right? Like hearing him speak to these like athletes, and he's very like strong, and the way he speaks is like basically, like really aggressive. And I would love to go to one of his things, right? Like I don't see anybody like me in his audiences, but I would love to go watch him speak. I just feel like he's like super just a cool guy to watch. But and my husband listens to him like every single morning.
I
um
love it.
yeah, but just yeah, I'll keep coming back because I felt a connection.
Mm. Yes. And it's called social media for a reason, right? Like we need to be social on there,
Yeah.
like that's the purpose. And I think, this is the thing is like, pretend like it is literally like you're responding back to your phone calls in the morning to, check back in, like if a new client inquires or, whatnot, like it's the exact same thing. It's just done in a different format for you, and socials is such a powerful tool, like I just think about, I've only been online as a business for 3 years. I started my business much longer. My son's 6. So like I've had my business behind the scenes. I launched on Instagram. I was already fully booked. I did that off my Kevin Murphy clientele that I had, with when I launched Salon Society. And so, it's all been about that community, that connection. The same, like that you said earlier about, a stylist, like I was never the best technical skilled hairdresser in the salon floor, but what I could do consistently was show up and absolutely love on my clients and make that client feel like they were the only person that was around. And so those relationships are such an important part, and you get to foster that on your social media with these clients to the point that before they step foot in your door, they already feel connected to you. So when they
I
come in
was
your
just going to
door,
say that.
yeah, so when they
Yeah.
come in your door, like they already feel like they know you. They already feel like they're safe with you. They already feel like those walls are down. They trust you and they're ready to be in your chair. So I think if we can kind of, not see our social media as a disconnection of who we are as a brand, as an independent stylist, as a salon owner. I think it's such a key part around feeling less overwhelmed when it comes to socials is there is no disconnection. The way that you show up for your clients in person, that's what you need to emulate and show on your socials so that they can see an accurate kind of, I guess, visual of what it's going to look like so they can already feel like they know you. I think that's just so powerful. And again, we've seen that with the things we've been able to achieve within our own businesses. Like, if it wasn't for social media and putting myself out there, I don't think I would have had the opportunities that I've had in the last 3 years that have come to me because, when you show up, you talk about your message, you be consistent in the message, even when nobody's liking your content and sharing your content. That's the hardest part, is still showing up regardless, because you believe in what you do and what you offer. Because, when you first start, obviously it is a little bit more like, oh my God, no one knows me. They don't know who I am, what I offer. So I think, if you are starting out and you feel nervous around that, keep showing up even when you feel like you're not getting anywhere, because I promise you, your next new client is literally only around the corner. They just aren't ready to break up with their hairdresser right now. But if you keep showing up and you keep your doors open, and I have this saying as well, where it's like, you would never have your salon doors open Monday, close them Tuesday, close them Wednesday, close them Thursday, open them Friday. You would never be open, close if you're a shop front in a salon, in a busy shopping center, or even wherever you're located. So that's what you need to think about your social media is. You can't be showing up one day and then going MIA for 2 weeks and then come back again. Like, that sporadicness also doesn't build that trust. So it's like your digital shop front needs to be open as much as your salon doors are open. And that's, I think, again,
I
it's,
love that.
yeah, it's that continuity. There's not a disconnection. And I think when you can do that, it just becomes really effortless as well. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I love the way that you put that. That puts it very clear and very easy to understand, and it makes you go like, yeah, you can't do that. I
Right.
when I was working behind the chair, I felt that so many clients that would come to me, so many new clients, and I always took new clients. I never turned away new clients. If there's room on my schedule for you, I'm taking new clients. If you can wait 4 months, then you're getting on my schedule. And those people would come to me and they would say, I feel like I already know you from social media. And this is before I showed up as much as I do now. Like, this is just me maybe posting like pictures of myself and, what I do when I'm not in the salon or what I do when I am in the salon, but just documenting my life in that way, not necessarily showing up on stories with my voice, but they would still say, I feel like I already know you from social media. And I think that goes to show like why we bonded so much as well, because I felt like I already knew you. You felt like you already knew me. Then we literally like had the opportunity to finally connect in Budapest last June. And I remember when I saw you in the hallway at the hotel, I was like, it didn't feel like that was my first time seeing you in person. I felt like I already knew you.
Yeah,
And
literally.
it's
It's
just
just,
like you aren't worried about connecting with people that you've already felt that connection with. And walking into a salon for the first time can be so overwhelming, and people forget that like it is very scary going to new places. I joke all the time that I have anxiety about going to places, but it's nowhere near what other people have. And especially you're going to this appointment alone. Like, where do I go? What is it going to be like when I get there? What do I do? Where do I park? And all of these things. And if you've connected with them to where they already feel like they know you, you've taken a huge weight off that client's shoulders.
yeah, you've literally taken walls down. And the thing is too, like, you have to remember, like, when clients are coming in as a new client, they already feel anxious, they already feel nervous. Again, how we said earlier around showing up in the online space, like, we need to also realize that, like, people that are coming into our chairs sometimes are people who are vulnerable. They've got a lot going on in their life. And so if you can kind of already have one less wall up as they're coming in, you're going to be able to also deliver on the service better, because you're going to be able to actually get a strong consultation out of that client, because they're going to feel comfortable, like they can trust you. So I think there's just so much to be said for the power of socials when it is harnessed in the correct way. And I think if you are in that sort of mindset where you're like, oh, I just don't see the value, I think it's just a really good time to reassess, like, how are you spending your time? What are you doing in the time you're on social media? And I find 9 times out of 10, it's because most of us spend the time that we're on socials looking at what everyone else does.
Yeah, totally.
Like, we really do. Like, when I poll my audience, when I go to workshops, the first thing I ask in my class is like, what's the biggest thing that you struggle with? And they're like, I struggle with worrying about other hairdressers judging my work, or I worry about, and I'm just like, that's what you're worried about? And I'm like, and it's literally like handing the reins over of your business and going, here's my business. I'm going to let you drive and take the wheel and run with it, because I'm too afraid to go and do my book work, because I don't really want to know, like you just would never do that. And that's essentially what we're doing, is by worrying so much about what others think, we're basically hindering our own business success and our business growth in that process if we're not showing up. And I think now, really look at like us, like I'm 25 years in hairdressing, like we never had these tools available to us. So we've had to learn it. And so if we've been able to learn it, I think anyone can learn it. Like I'm 25 years ago, I started like, so, and I don't know, babe, you're probably close to that
I'm
as well.
I'm 20 years in, and
Yeah.
man, if you scroll back far enough on my Instagram, it's,
Yeah, but it's growth though. And the thing
yeah.
is, we've got to be okay with making mistakes. We've got to be okay with trialing and error. And we've got to be okay with just having a go and not attaching anything to it. And I think this is what we end up doing is we get so caught up in what if it's not right? What if it's not? It's like just give it a crack, because all this time you're spending not actually doing anything is not bringing you any closer. So start showing up, start posting, start testing, start trialing, start making mistakes, not be afraid of it. And you will find in the messiness, you will actually find that you'll start to see, oh, okay, cool. Like a lot of people really liked that post. Well, what was it about that post? And you just stumble your way through until you actually start going, oh, yeah, I can start to see what that is. And also, as well, you need to do education. Like, how many balayage classes are you doing in a year? How many, colorist upskilling classes are you doing? And how many have you done over your career of your hairdressing journey? As social media is the same thing. We need to be learning how to upskill and understand how to market ourselves. And if we're not, it of course it's harder. But yeah, we need to invest into understanding how to navigate the crazy world of
Yeah.
socials.
I think our industry is lacking on solid social media and business education. I know
Yeah.
that there's a lot of things available on social media as we put out content as well to educate our audience, but like actual in salon education to actually teach the hairdresser how to create this content is lacking big time.
Massively. Yeah. Because we're hairdressers. Fundamentally, we're hairdressers. Like, I mean, for me, I spent the last 6 years studying it, and I've worked with cut coat. I've done the work, and I'm constantly working with mentors. But like, if you are behind the chair and you're trying to learn how to run a business and you're a hairdresser on the floor, like it's an overwhelming world to enter into. So absolutely, we need to be providing this kind of education to help them to understand, where to even start, because there's so many aspects to it as well. So yeah, I definitely think that's a massive thing that needs to come into play in the industry to support everybody when it comes to that as well, so they can, I guess, feel more confident in what they're doing.
Yeah. And hopefully bringing us together. I'm in the United States, you're in Australia. I mean, I think we can reach a lot of hairdressers in between. So hopefully we continue to.
I reckon we can give it a really good crack, babe. I reckon we've got a really good chance of doing that, to be honest.
I see big things happening in the next 6 months to a year. um, so before we wrap up, what do you feel that salons should really be focusing in the last half of 2024 and going into 2025 on socials? What do you feel that salons and stylists should focus the most on going forward in the way that social media is changing, and it always is? What do you feel that they need to be focusing on?
I think they just need to be focusing on themselves. I think they need to be focusing on, again, there are 1,001 salons in your local area. And so, what is it? Spend the time to understand what is it that makes you different? Because you could have, all the salons in your local area that all do extensions. So what is it about you that's unique? Like, how do you actually differentiate yourself in the social media landscape? How do you show what makes you different, right? I think that is a massive thing that I always talk about. And I think that's something that's evergreen. That's not something that will ever be, something that's trending. I'm not really a big believer in that. I'm a really big believer in like, let's create evergreen content around the problems that you solve, that your services solve, and making sure that your Instagram account is so well laid out in the sense of all the content you put out is absolutely speaking about when new clients land on your page, there is nothing that they don't feel seen in that content. They can come and they go, oh my God, yep, they are the salon for me because they do this, this, and this. So I think we need to stop looking at what others are doing. I think we need to stop worrying about what our, the people in our local areas are doing, and really start using that time to think about ourselves and what makes us unique. And I think regardless of, all the years that will come on social media, the key to standing out is quite literally who you are, and nobody can repeat you. And so I think that's been my biggest thing that I've done this year. And that's been the biggest thing that's helped me grow. It's the biggest thing that my clients are seeing growth in, because it allows you to turn all the noise off, and allows you to really stay in your lane. And I think really, if you can do that, and understanding that social media marketing, organic marketing, is the long game. It is not something that you just jump in and you're going to have it all figured out. It is a long-term game. And so make sure that you, take the time to understand absolutely to your core, what is it that makes you different? And if you don't know, have a brand strategy done, have a proper strategy done that allows you to have somebody to really help you to articulate that. Because once you can establish your own unique voice and the way you speak to your clients and new clients coming into your world, you will absolutely never have any issues, because you'll always go back to that and be able to, highlight really what makes you unique and why people should choose you.
That's powerful. And yeah, authenticity is key in pretty much every situation. If you just are yourself, no one is you, and that is your superpower.
It's what I talk
And that
about all
is
my clients.
one of my favorite
And
quotes.
yeah, and I think it gets, the word authenticity gets thrown around a lot, on socials, but it's like, really, really embody that. Like, don't just say you're authentic, like truly embody that. So if you're a sustainable salon, don't just say you're sustainable, but don't then embody it and talk about the sustainable, the way you live your life sustainably. So like, really embody the things that you are about. Show your own unique values. What is it that you value as a company? You need to have what your values are when it comes to your socials, because again, that's how you'll stand out. Because values-based marketing is, again, it's another way of being able to get in front of people where nobody can basically replicate you, because we all have different values, and that's the point. And consumers want to connect with brands on a much deeper level. And it's not just, oh, they do great hair. It's like, yeah, but who are they? Like, what is it that they're about? What is it they value? What is it that they do outside of work? And how can I kind of connect with that? So that's where I think for me, it'll always be in to make sure that you show who you are, because that's how you'll kind of stand out in a very noisy platform online.
And I hope that anyone just watching this right now is thinking and asking themselves, like, who am I? Who am I, and how do I portray that to the world and to my clients and to my future clients?
Yeah. Love it.
Amazing. I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This has been incredible. I really hope that just people feel so inspired by our story, how we connected, and just really utilize social media in a way to network, expand their community, and, support the women around them, and stop ignoring people who are doing the same thing as you. If you see somebody doing something incredible, like, tell them. Because it could be like your new best friend. I feel closer to you in the last year than I feel to people I've known for the last 10 years in the industry, because of the conversations that we've had and the voice notes that we send each other all day long, even though we're on a literally 12-hour time difference most of the time. Right now we're on a 15-hour time difference, and we still make it work. And I think the other thing that works for us too is that we literally have to schedule time to talk. So we do. And, I'm just really, really appreciative to have you on today, but also just like for our relationship. Love our friendship so much. And I'm just so excited to see where we take things.
And I'm just so grateful that we had the incredible opportunity to meet up in person. Like, it's such a surreal feeling, when like you connect online, and then, you have so many conversations, and then the next thing you get to actually meet up in real life. And kind of just felt like it was just like, oh, hey, like it wasn't even a big deal. It just felt so effortless, just like, oh, hey, like it was just like you were just like caught up again and again, but it was the first time. It's hard to explain. So if you are listening, and you are, in that place of like, oh, you feel nervous to reach out, or you feel anxious around that, like, don't, because on the other end of that, once you push past that, you will absolutely find your new biz bestie. And can I tell you, the business owner journey life can be a really hard time. There are days where you really just need someone who understands what you're going through, because they also are a small business owner. And, for me, I haven't got a lot of those people when I first launched online. So for me, I've built such incredible relationships, and they've all come from socials, because we do share that similar kind of, I guess, journey that we were all on. And so it just makes the journey that much easier when you're having a crappy day. She's like, hey, oh my God, this is going on. Like, and it's just, you feel
And we
instantly,
do.
yeah, like we just feel instantly heard and seen. So, like imagine the support you would get, from actually being bold enough to reach out and go, hey, I love what you're doing. I think you're awesome. And, if you see another woman doing wicked stuff, like send her love, because there will be your time that you will get, if that's what you want to do, to be in that spotlight also. And so they will also then be cheering you on. And so I think, there's a real power in that when you can do that, and trust that when the time is right for whatever you want to do for yourself, that you will also have your moment as well. But it just feels so damn good to support others in what they're doing and see their own stuff come to life. So yeah, do not be afraid, reach out, because if it wasn't for Alison, we wouldn't be here.
Yes, we would not.
Thank you for being brave, babe. And no issues sending me a DM, sliding into my DMs.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Renee. I'm so excited to see where we take things from here. And I'm really excited to keep on doing these sort of things together and collaborating and just watching you succeed. And it's just been really incredible. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Go to bed.
Literally, I'm like, what time is it? It's 11:15.
Love you, Renee.
Please make sure that you subscribe on YouTube. And if you have any questions for future topics, leave those in the comments below. And lastly, rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.